Welcome to this tutorial on using the Simple Mesh Widget Plugin for Unreal Engine. This plugin allows you to render 3D meshes directly into your UI without using SceneCapture. In this video, I'll demonstrate two examples using a static mesh and a skeletal mesh. Let's get started. Drag and drop a Simple Mesh widget into your UI designer. Select the widget and in the Details panel, find the Resource Object property. Assign a static mesh of your choice. For this example, I'll use a simple chair mesh. Make sure the mesh's AllowQX's property is set to true. This is required for the plugin to render the mesh in the UI. After assigning the mesh, you might notice that it renders as a wireframe. This indicates that no materials have been assigned yet. Assign user interface materials to the materials property for each material slot of the mesh. This ensures the mesh is rendered correctly within the UI context. Now, use the World Position Root transform to adjust the mesh's position and rotation. You'll typically adjust the rotation for orthographic projection or the location for perspective projection. Finally, fine-tune the mesh's appearance using the Mesh Pivot and Mesh Render Size properties. Click the Fit Meshed Widget button to automatically calculate an initial size and position that fits the mesh within the widget. Now, let's move on to the skeletal mesh. Drag a second Simple Mesh widget into your canvas. Find the Resource Object property. Assign a skeletal mesh of your choice. For this example, I'll use a character mesh. Again, ensure the mesh's AllowQX's property is enabled. Just like with the static mesh, you'll notice the skeletal mesh initially renders as a wireframe. This is because no materials have been assigned yet. Let's start by adjusting the mesh's size and position. Click the Fit Meshed Widget button to automatically calculate an initial size and position that fits the mesh within the widget. Now, let's assign materials. This skeletal mesh has two material slots, so we'll need to assign two user interface materials to the materials property. Once the materials are assigned, the mesh will render correctly within the UI. If needed, you can further refine the mesh's appearance using the Mesh Pivot and Mesh Render Size properties, or adjust the World Position Root transform to fine-tune its position and rotation. Now, let's take it a step further and use an animated skeletal mesh actor blueprint. First, we'll need to create the blueprint. In the content browser, right-click and select Blueprint class. This time, choose Skeletal Mesh Actor as the parent class. Name the blueprint Animesh. Open the blueprint, and you'll notice it already has a skeletal mesh component. Assign your skeletal mesh to this component. Next, let's set up the animation. For this example, I'll use a run animation. Compile and save the blueprint. Now, go back to your UI designer and select the mesh widget. Assign the Animesh BP blueprint to the Resource Object property. Now, you'll see the animated character playing its run animation directly within the UI. And that's it! You've successfully embedded a static mesh and a skeletal mesh into separate widgets using the Simple Mesh Widget plugin. Thanks for watching and happy designing!